Hi, Linda. How are you?
Hi.
It's good to see you.
You too. How are you?
Oh, thank you for being with me and Destino today. I'm like really proud and happy that you're with me and that we get to talk about your work.
Of course. Anytime. Anything for you, Hugo.
Oh, thank you. Hey, would you be able to start with your name and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Lynda Tarryk, and I am a director for television.
I really wanted to hit you with these rapid fire questions to get to
Uh-oh.
warm us up a little bit. Is that all right?
Okay. Oh, God.
I really want to know what was the first TV character that you identified with right away?
Murphy Brown.
Murphy Brown. Very cool. And why?
She was a woman in a power position. She was strong. She was funny. Um, and I think I just had the biggest crush on her. I don't know. I wanted to be her.
Well, my next question is, if you could direct another episode on one of your previous shows, what show would you want to go back to and do one last episode?
Ooh, wow. That's hard because they're all so different and
Mhm.
I like them all. I have to say, probably a show that not many people know. It's just because it was just so crazy. Act Your Age. It was a show with Yvette Nicole Brown and Tisha Campbell and Kim Whitley, and Alison Faust was the showrunner. And we just had such a ball, and it was two episodes shot in 3 days. So it was just the speed was crazy and it was intoxicating. We were just going so fast and it was just so funny. Even when we weren't shooting, it was hilarious, and everyone immediately felt like family. And we were doing different days. We were dressing up, different theme days, and the actors were up for trying anything. And so you'd pitch something and we could go broad and we could, and they would do it. And the physical comedy on that was just amazing. And Allison, the showrunner, she really was positive. And even though we had, like we had to get these two shows done in 3 days and we're limited with our
Mm.
time, if I had an idea, she would say, "Yeah, go for it, try it, let's see." And we would do it. So she kind of gave me a lot of free reign, which was really nice.
Oh, that's so cool. And I always love those kind of collaborations where it does feel like everybody is bringing their part and you're kind of free to test things out.
Yeah, yeah. And you grow that way too.
Yeah.
When you're not able to kind of explore what you're capable of, how will you know, you know?
Yeah. Well, last one. It's Saturday morning, and what's on your TV when you're a kid?
Oh, I watched a lot of the Saturday morning cartoons. It was like oh my gosh. Well, and I don't even know if this was on Saturday, but we would also watch like Land of the Lost and Sigmund and the Sea Monsters and HR Puff and Stuff and or is that's Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, right? That's HR Puff and Stuff. I don't know. But then all the cartoons like Speed Racer and Wonder Woman, there's a Wonder Woman cartoon. They had like this whole little series of cartoons. I actually have, I don't know if I have it in here, but I had a lunch, like a lunchbox thermos, and it had
Yeah.
like all the like Wonder Twin Powers activate, like had all of the cartoons that I watched as a kid. So yeah, those kind of things. That was Saturday
Yeah.
morning for sure.
Yeah, I dig it with the cereal and you're just watching TV till
Oh yeah. But
your
then it was
parents
like,
start telling you.
yeah, once that was over, I was outside in the neighborhood with my friends. Yeah.
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 Well, great. I definitely wanted to start with this question because I'm interested to know what made you want to work in entertainment.
You know, it's so funny because I have a sister that's 5 years older,
Mhm.
and she was a dancer, and then I became a dancer, and then she in high school was she did musical theater and was in one of the productions, it was Brigadoon, I still remember. And I'm 5 years younger. So after the show, we got to go backstage. First, watching her on stage, it was like, oh wow. And then we went backstage to give her flowers, and she
Mhm.
had to go get her stuff. So she invited me backstage, and I'm walking on stage, and I'm looking, and I can still smell like the wood for construction of the sets. And I'm like, oh wow, that's what that looks like back here. It just kind of breaking the wall from uh, something that's presented to like, here's how it's built. Here's the behind the scenes. And that just was intoxicating to me. And then, growing up watching movies, we always went to the movies and seeing stuff that like Star Wars or Spielberg and movies that had a lot of special effects or miniatures or creating these worlds. Like I kind of dove into how do you how do you make those things? I had a book by ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, to see how they made the ghosts in Poltergeist, like, and I experimented with stuff like that too because I was very arty. My mom is very creative and artistic, and my sister and I would put on plays in the garage. So I think it was just kind of a natural, like, what else was I gonna do? Of course. And I always kind of was a writer. Like I would always write stories and stuff. So it just kind of naturally progressed into when I got into high school, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a director. When I got into college, it was like I want to write and direct. That's it. So just kind of stayed the course.
Well, part of that is obviously like having guidance and mentorship. Who were your mentors back then?
Back then. So I consider a mentor someone who really kind of takes you under their wing or gives you your first start. When I was in college, I had some great instructors, that would kind of guide me and say, "Hey, I submitted you for the scholarship, Women in Film," and and then kind of introducing you to the industry and kind of giving you like little jobs. But when I was in college, I was also an audience page. So I brought in audience members for this one show they had a run through and they during the middle of the week, which you normally do on multicams, and they'd bring in um, 20 guests off of a bus from Universal Studios. They'd bring them in, hey, anyone want to see a show? And so 20 people would get on a bus, they'd come down the hill to Disney Studios, and I was the one that would greet them, and I brought them to the stage, and it was home improvement. And during their run through, they would put out folding chairs in front of each set, and I would guide them, and one of the EPs would guide them. And the EP was Carmen Finestra. And he and I started talking. So every week, he and I would talk, and we'd talk with the audience. And I had a film that played in a DGA showcase, a student film. And I invited him, and he came, and I got a call, and I got to work with them the next year on a new show as a production assistant. So he gave me my start, and there's been so many people. When I started directing, like Gail Mancuso was a mentor, Phil Lewis was a mentor. Um, I had worked in the industry for like, a long time. I've been in the industry for like 30 years, but I worked my way up. So I saw and worked and shadowed all the directors in town, because I was on a lot of shows and you get to see what you like and what you don't like or what works and what doesn't work or so you really learn that way. So there were a lot of mentors that way, yeah.
What would you say was the first show that really made you jump into becoming a director?
Hmm. I directed before working in television. Um, and that was always my goal, and I was always doing like short films and stuff. Um, so I knew I always wanted to direct. Um, I don't know if there was a show that was like made me realize I wanted to direct. You know what I mean? Like I always knew that's what I wanted to do. But there was definitely directors that I watched and said, "Oh, I could do that."
Yeah, well, that's definitely a great sign, especially when you continue to be inspired. And even if something intimidates you and you still go for it, I mean, I think that's specifically the sign for me that it's worth going after.
Yeah.
But I wanted to really focus on the work that you've done on Raven's Home. And would you be able to tell me how you specifically prepare for an episode on a show like that? Like day
Yeah.
zero.
Yeah, well, so I started on that show as the associate director, and
Mhm.
Raven Simone saw me, and you're there every week, and you're working with other directors, and we got to talking, and she's like, "You need to direct because you're good. I know you can do this," and I'm like, "Thank you." Yeah, so she was actually the one who gave me my first break, directing, and um. So I kind of knew what that show was all about. I knew the actors. I knew how the days went. So it didn't take away my stress for my first episode. So preparing for my first episode was, getting the script. We were actually on hiatus the week before my first episode. So I had 5 days to I think I got an early draft and to kind of prepare. So they were really nice to me. They really supported me, everyone on that show. Um, but you read the script and you visualize it in your mind and you write notes down, and I knew camera because that's where I came up through. So I knew the shots I needed. I knew kind of how to block them in terms of how to get the shots. And then thinking about like motivation and actors, what are they doing? Okay, it's written here that she does this, but what's underneath? What's the subtext of what she's saying? Okay, maybe I'll bring that element in here where she's doing this while she's saying that. So it was a lot of just breaking it down, and reading and reading and reading. And every time you'd read it, it was something else would come up. And my first episode, whenever I was away from the script, I would start to get really nervous and really scared. And then I'd open the script up and I'm like, okay, I'm fine. I'm fine. Because then this is the work. This is what I need to focus on, not on all these other things, right? Yes, you do need to know how to communicate with the other departments and how to do the table read and the production meeting. But it was really just kind of a natural progression for me. But yeah, I was super scared. And I got a show that had a lot of, well, Disney shows have a lot of special effects, visual effects and stunts. And so I got one that was a drone war. And so these drones from different rooftops were, you know, kids were dumping like balloons with guacamole in them, and having this war with each other and with other kids on the other rooftop. So we had to fly drones, and what do the drones look like? And do we put them on wires because you can't have them flying over the actor's head just in case something happens. So there were a lot of elements, but you get all of those figured out in the production meeting.
Yeah, who's the people that you collaborate the most or that you rely on to have a smooth episode?
Um, you know, well, first the AD, the first AD, because when you go in, especially if you go into a show that you don't know, you want to talk to them and kind of get the lay of the land, and you want to ask them like, so what's this actor going through, or what's this person like to work with? Oh, they don't like it when directors do that, or they like to go fast, or they take more time, or they're usually late. Anything, any kind of information you can get is good information. Are there um, anyone on set that doesn't get along? Is anything that you can find out? And then they work on the schedule for the week with you, and then the shooting schedule. So you really want to lean on them, and you want to work with them, because if you know that you're going to take longer on a certain scene and they think you're going to fly through it, you want to have that conversation beforehand so that it could be scheduled longer. So you really collaborate with them. Um, who else? Props, a lot of props. I tend to, the props are written in the script, but also I give action for the actors, business. I give them business, and so I may want certain props to do that business, and so I'll write them on the side of my script when I write down, for the production meeting what I need, and I'll be sure to tell the prop person, the prop master, what I need before rehearsal. So that way I have it, and the actor, if whether they're going to use it or not, at least it's there. or if it's a certain kind of prop. Maybe I don't want it to look like this, or I want it this size, you know. So you kind of go back and forth. Sometimes you get something that is not what you ex imagined at all. And then also like stunts and effects person. Yeah, everyone
Well,
is. And obviously the writers, you know, because when you're a director and the actors, I mean, you're working with them, and then the writer may have a different idea or a different tone. So you're collaborating a lot with them and working a lot with them. Yeah.
yeah, what do you have any examples of getting last minute notes and how you were able to handle those?
Last minute notes. Yeah, well, you know, you get notes all the way through. You get notes after each run through, you get notes after each take. Um, I think one of the biggest last minute notes was on Raven's home, and it was the tail end of my first episode, the tail end of the big scene, right? There's usually a big scene with all the stunts and the visual effects and the the drones, you know, it was that was that scene. But you may get a huge, like we got a huge rewrite. And so we're like, okay, how much time do you need? How are we going to do this? What is the rewrite? What are we doing? You know, so you kind of, we actually were going to lunch at that point, you know, before we got the pages. So we get the pages during lunch, and I would just sit there and just mark, okay, how do I see it? How am I going to shoot it? How much time am I gonna need? Where do we stop? Where do we do the stunt? Where do we reset? Where do we block it? You know, where are they standing? So you're just kind of redoing the work that you do all week long, um, in terms of getting a new draft, rethinking everything, reblocking everything. Um, yeah, so last minute notes like that is big, but you know, you have a team with you. You have the actors, you have their experience, you have everyone wants to make it happen. Everyone wants to make it funny. Everyone wants to go home at the end of the day. So, you know, we everyone pulls together. And that's one thing I love about multicam television is that we're on a set. We're on the stage. We're there every week, hopefully. And we're all working together to get that episode done. And everyone brings their best. And so you don't have to know everything. You're not going to. There's no way. But you know, you need to rely on the people who know what prop the actor is not gonna respond to, you know, what harness they won't wear if they're in, you know, getting flown up into the air, or how long they can stay, because that person knows that actor does not like to be hung in the air for an hour, you know, whatever it is. I mean, you know, so what was the question?
Well, like on a show like Raven's Home, I know there's so many stunts and special
Oh
effects
yeah.
and things like that. Especially that I've noticed like everything is kind of worked out in the run-throughs before we go on camera.
Oh yeah.
So how do you handle that type of kind of notes or changes? Or in like in your case, you mentioned the drones. Sometimes you're not able to use them how you imagined. You know, who do you collaborate with to find those answers?
You know, first you have to be super prepared in the first version that they give you. If you're so prepared that whatever they throw at you, you no usually can figure out how to um, how to incorporate their new note. You know what I mean? Um, and I think really, who do I rely on? Yeah. Really everyone, you know, who has a part in it. You kind of, you know, the actors can go, "Oh, I know what that is. I can do this and I'll do that over there." Great, that's fantastic. Or, that's not going to work. Can you do it on this side instead? And let's do that, you know. So it's kind of a collaboration, it's a discussion, it's a try it out, you know. And when we have the big stunts and effects on like Raven's Home, during the week you'll be um, working it out, right? And usually the special effects person has already thought about it the week before and started building the big thing. Like on Raven's Home, we had one where Alice is at her locker and she opens it up and a big foot comes out and kicks her across the room and she lands into other lockers. And so he had built this big foot, and he builds it outside in his little workshop and he records it on his phone and he shows it to us during the week. And we're like, that's great. Or can you make it go faster? Or, the foot looks weird or, and then he tells us how he's gonna build it and change it. And then he brings it onto stage and then we try it out after a run through and see how it looks built into the set. And then because he had to put it in a locker. And then when you're shooting, it's kind of you get up to the point and then you do the effect and then, so those those big things, yes, we seem to have them all worked out by the time we're shooting because we have to, but they come in a step each way and they're worked on a week beforehand.
It's definitely a lot of those things that come to mind to me specifically because, and then I have worked with you on another show, Night Court.
Yeah.
So, how would you compare a show like Raven's Home to Night Court?
Oh, yeah. So, Raven's Home, you have kids and you have a lot of visual effects, special effects, stunts. So that's a whole nother beast. And kids, they have only a certain amount of hours they can work and then they go to school. So you have limited time. And everything has to be shot. All those big scenes have to be shot beforehand. Before, if you're going to have an audience show, that's going to be done before so you can play those scenes back and then you have all the other scenes to do. The actors, kid actors, normally you need a little more rehearsal. You need a little more guidance, especially if they're newer actors, right? And then the night court is just, I mean, you have these amazing actors that have so much experience and come in and it's relaxed and we may not even rehearse the first day. We go home, go home early, come back the next day, and it's pretty easy breezy, it's let's see, here's what I'm thinking. How about this? And they're like, yeah, and they know their characters and they know how they work in that set, where their things are, what they do, what's normal for them. Um, so, and shows like that don't have a lot of uh, stunts usually. Like I did one episode there that was a great episode. It was when Roz comes back and she gets married. And yeah, and so it was the best Dan. And we had, this huge wedding scene and we had to block it out so that I knew if we were going to go to commercial break or not, or who's behind them at what time and who's moving where kind of thing. So it all had to be choreographed. But we had a stunt in it and we had them it was Abby and Jake, her boyfriend. So it was Melissa Roush. Um, they're running out to leave and they crash into the wedding cake. And so we had to um, first build the wedding cake. What's it going to be made out of? How tall is the table? How tall are the stunt people? What are they wearing? Can we get doubles? Can we, shoot up to that point? Then, we talk about the projection of the fall and everything, and then putting the actors back in with cake on them. And so, but the difference, so stunts, yeah, a stunt is a stunt is a stunt, right? Well, not necessarily all stunts, but so those kind of things are the same on both shows.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally understand. I mean, just to be able to see the difference, because every show runs differently. So, like you said, you go in your first day or your first episode back, and it's the same thing as going around and seeing what how they like to run the show.
Yeah. Yeah, because, maybe some shows love it when the director laughs between, at each joke. Some shows may be like, why is the director laughing so loudly? Like, on kids shows you want to give them the pacing and the timing so you laugh and so that they know to hold for the laugh. In other shows, adult shows, they may be like, that's so annoying.
Well, from all the Night Court episodes, what's some of your proudest moments there?
I really enjoyed doing my first one there was called DA Club or Duh Club. And that was a big one because we had this huge set that was the district attorney's like social club. And so it like spanned the whole side of the set, the swing set. And so it just had a lot of moving parts, and I really enjoyed that. And the actors in that episode were fantastic, and um, I loved doing the best Dan, the wedding, because watching Night Court as a kid and then coming back and being able to do her wedding, Roz's wedding, and with Dan walking her down the aisle. I mean, that was like, wow, these are the two original cast members and they're back together and he's walking her down the aisle, which was really special. It was really cool.
Well, I know as a director, you stay on this episode all the way through post. What is it like for you to be in post production, and what type of things are you asked to provide?
So in post-production, you get your cut from the editor. So it sometimes it's the next week. Sometimes it's a month later. It just depends on the workload and where they are in post-production with the other shows, the other episodes. So you'll get the editor's cut, which is their first cut. And then you'll either sit with them or you'll a lot now since COVID, a lot of editors will send you the cut and then you do your notes at home over the computer and then send them your notes. So I'll see where um, the where I knew where I wanted to go. And if it's not there, I make sure that it's there. I make sure that the jokes are hitting, that there's enough time, enough laughter, that there's a reaction, where the laughter, because sometimes they'll lay the laughter in. You want to make sure it's not, doesn't, affect the timing or the pacing of a joke. Um, or maybe there was a special shot that you just love and you want to have in there. Um, and the editor didn't realize it or didn't know, so you want to try to get that in. So you have only like a few days, like a couple days to turn it around and give them your notes. And then they'll come back and say, okay, here's the cut, and here are the notes that worked, here are the notes that maybe didn't work. And then you watch it again, and hopefully you have time to adjust them with them, Um, but if you're in there with them on the day, you could say, "Can you try this? Oh, I don't like that. Can you try it again with this instead?" Or, change the pacing or change the shot or the take. Usually you know what take you want because you've circled it when you were shooting it with the script supervisor. She'll circle the take. Oh, that was a good one. Not that one. That one was bad. We have a boom in the shot. Do this one.
Well, you have a lot of shows under your belt, from Raven to Night Court and The Conners. What would you say is a characteristic or a style that you bring to all these shows that you direct?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I bring kind of a levity, a feel on set that makes people kind of feel a little more relaxed and that they can have fun trying things out. I love I love physical comedy. So I think anytime there's something that I can kind of highlight a little bit more physically, like on The Conners, it was the episode where Jackie is getting proposed to, and everyone's around the dinner table, and it's like three proposals, right? And we were rehearsing it, and in my head, I saw the script, and I'm like, I'm kind of like figuring out where to put them at the table and who's going to be standing where, and I knew that I wanted her to like turn to him, and if she was sitting in the chair, I thought she could use the chair to like bounce around, to face him. Like, what? So. Um, I put them in the right places, and then, I didn't give her that note yet. And then when she did it, she turned to him and I said, "Hey, Lori, can you take the chair with you? Try that." And she did the bouncing around, and I was like, yes, because I had imagined that during the weekend when I prepped. And you let them find it, but you give them a little something and she'll go off and do it. And it made me feel like my instincts were right, you know. Um, that show was such an incredible experience. I mean, to have grown up and watched that show and to admire those actors and work with people that you just were never thought you'd work with, like John Goodman. I mean, come on, And then I got to do an episode where one of my one of my proudest episodes is where Becky goes to therapy and the group it's a group that the whole family comes and it's her breakthrough. And they leave, and it's just John, the therapist, and Becky. So Dan, the therapist, and Becky. And uh, she has this amazing dramatic breakthrough, and she's crying, and he comes over and hugs her, and it was just like I was like, wow, I'm doing this episode. It just felt like just an incredible honor to be able to do that episode because it was just so heavy.
Yeah, I mean, the way you say it, I can picture it now, and it's definitely one of those moments where you're just really proud of what you've created and where you are. Becoming a director is not an easy task. What would you say to those that are aspiring directors? How should they network and meet the right people?
I would say do everything you can to just keep working, keep creating. It's so easy now to create stuff with your phone. Get out there, go to film festivals, meet people at film festivals, meet people, go to tapings, introduce yourself, try to get a foot in the door, be a PA if you can, find that, start it, interning while you're in school. Look for those opportunities and then go to events that you can go to. And just the people that you're around now are people that are going to also move up and move into those positions. So stay in touch with people. Be nice to everyone because you never know who's going to be running the studio the next day, or in 10 years. But you know what I mean? Like be a good person and if you're passionate about it and you just keep working it, who knows? Your everyone's journey is different. So I think perseverance is what makes it or breaks it, really. I had a lot of uh, fellow film students that dropped out, that
Mhm,
stopped. I'm going to go do this other job instead. Freelance, it's hard. The freelance world is hard because you never
mhm.
know if your show gets canceled, it's canceled, where you got to go find another job. Um, so so if you can hold on, if you can stay in it, I think it's just a matter of time. And if you're passionate about it and you're working hard and you're a good person and you're nice, people like to work with you, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna get there.
How do you stay motivated between projects? What do you do?
Oh man, so I write, I develop, I do a lot of stuff with the Directors Guild and I go to events and stuff. The Television Academy, there's a directing workshop. I'm also starting a multicam directing workshop online that I'm teaching. And just, trying to stay busy and networking, always networking. And for me, networking is like seeing my friends and going for a cup of coffee. You know what I mean? Like, but there's also the things you need to do, like stay in contact with your agent and, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I like to stay busy. I like to think outside the box. I want to do, stage readings, stuff like that. I mean, I love working with actors. And so during that time off because, I came up like, through the crew and so technical, right? The technical side of it. So now I can work more with actors, which I really love. So while I'm off, I'll do directing workshops, I'll do, acting workshops, I'll put together a stage reading just so I can work with actors more.
And I always like to ask this question. I'm interested to know if you were able to give advice to your younger self, what would that be?
Whew. It's not going to happen overnight and stay with it. Just stay with it. And I think I've done that, but I would just remind myself, don't worry, don't worry. You're gonna get through it. It's gonna be okay. And also ask for what you want. Tell people what you want. They don't know.
Mhm.
Be a little more, um, aggressive. Don't be afraid of that. It's okay. And we're all in the same boat.
Yeah, I mean, especially with this climate that we're in, I always have to like remind myself like the next gig is just a call away. So
I
always
know.
just stay motivated and like you said, I mean, just checking in with friends and networking by meeting new people. I mean, I like to introduce myself around a lot and just meet people who I haven't
Yeah.
collaborated with yet. Because I mean, that could be your next gig or collaboration.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like to stay interested and stay motivated just by engaging with other people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're so wonderful. You're so sweet. And when I see you on a set that I go on, it's always a little bit of a surprise. I'm like, "Yay, it's Hugo!" And that warmth, that that translates to something. You know what I mean? That's like I'll be thinking of you. But, oh, hey, I gotta call Hugo because he's great for that. You know.
Yeah, I mean, likewise, every time that I see your name on our show,
Oh,
we're always just kind of looking forward to it. And
oh, good.
especially, I just coming from the art department, we already know that it's going to be a fun time.
Well, that's good. Because it's hard between gigs because you start to feel like I'm not getting a phone call. How come they didn't ask me for that show? Why am I not on the list? Why, and then you start becoming a little insecure. Did I do something on the last show? Did I say something? Because when you're the director, you could say one thing that someone doesn't like or takes the wrong way. And then they're like, hey, did you hear what she said? And then it's like, what did I do? It's the gossip, the gossip mill gets to the other show, gets to that show, gets around back to you. You're like, I didn't mean that, It's like, so it is a little scary. And when you're not working, you can kind of get in your head a lot of like, oh, I'm terrible at what I do. I'm not really a director. They know I suck, So it's hard. It's hard. You have to kind of remind yourself like I will work again. I am good at what I do. I know what I'm doing. People like me. I'll get a job, It's
Yeah.
hard business to be in for sure.
Well, I really appreciate that you sat with me and we got to chat about all this, and
Yeah.
definitely looking forward to being on the next show with you.
I know, you too. I wonder what it'll be.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you so much, Hugo. Bye.
Bye.